Kind by the word. Well, you would have been really important. I'm Pearl. Started fresh.
Yeah, you might have to wait another.
It's been such a long time. I'll get it right now. But I thought the movie would be embarrassing to get it. But I never got there. Yeah, I have. We'd be worried that we should. It's probably just for the best. Yeah.
It's usually something lighter and like
Corey. Me too. I was actually glad you said it.
Usually after,
I only ever make a list.
I had best friends named Holly and
well, that was the idea.
I didn't get the word that we weren't having.
No, I start to feel a little bit.
You are.
It's going like this. You're swaying.
Not surprising.
It's kind of we're swaying.
That's the story of my life, so what?
Wow, what great energy we have this morning.
Least from the ice.
Yeah.
Entombed in ice.
Okay, well, now's our opportunity for questions or commentary. And just to emphasize, as always, that particularly, if you're new, particularly if you're thinking, oh, that question's too basic, everybody knows that already, please ask. Diana.
I just have kind of a long question that I'd like people's advice on, which is, like, what do you do when you've reached your limit and it doesn't stop? About 38 months ago, some woman not paying attention at the wheel rearranged my life. And I'm still dealing with PTSD. I still can't drive. I'm still dealing with a head injury. I managed to get off pain medications, to get my chronic pain under control, to have my 12 broken bones heal and my surgeries completed and all those things. And I was doing really well. And now we're in the legal phase. And in Colorado law, where this happened, we have to file a suit or we can't get anything. And we've paid a lot of money for this. And unfortunately, the wonderful lawyer we had quit right after we filed the suit because he was appointed a federal judgeship, and that was a good thing for him, and I don't blame him for that. And the idiot that we have now is a really high-powered law firm, and they sent everything to our address in Colorado, which we left years ago, and nothing happened for months. And, you know, now everything has to be done in the 2 weeks before Christmas. And I spent yesterday entering 90 medications, 6 pieces of data for each. I spent last night putting in the first 40 some of the physicians I saw and their contact info and for what and what dates and things like that. The day before, I did about 10 pages of the 12 medical issues that are persisting that will need long-term care. And I'm nowhere near done. I still have to find my my school records back to 1962, including the ones in Europe, and my pay stubs for the last 5 years, which I destroyed because I'm retired, and tax records back for the last 10 years, and on and on and on and on and on and on, and all this has to be done at Christmas. I see my kids twice a year. They're coming in for Christmas. My daughter graduates from her PhD this week, and obviously we can't go. I'm hoping to have enough time to watch it online if they stream it. My husband's birthday was yesterday. He's on a cardiac monitor since his stroke, and his episodes are going through the roof right now. I still can't drive. It's a bitch to get groceries in or anything like that. I'm carrying groceries a mile and a half. I'm taking the bus and the tram home tonight. You know, from here, you know, I've really about reached my limit. And it's our wedding anniversary, and all this stuff with KCC is going, you know, which I would love to participate in. I love this season of year. And I just read Ringo Tulpa's book, Riding Stormy Waves, which is about the obstacles that rise, and he makes the point that as we progress on the path, the obstacles get harder. Well, you know what? I get it, Rinpoche. You know, I've been getting it ever since I went through the windshield and was blinded 50 years ago. I get it, this thing about obstacles. I really do. But you know what? Enough is enough is enough is enough. What do you do when enough is enough? And it doesn't stop. And I'm sorry to dump this question on you, but I would love, and please don't tell me acupuncture. You know, I don't have medical coverage for acupuncture. I am so financially in the hole, and I don't want to try something else. I've already been to 100 medical visits. I know it works, if I could only get it, and I can't. You know, like, and some things are never apparently curable, like head injuries. You know, what do people know that could help me? You know, I'm really at the end of my rope. There are many days I wish I had died in the accident. There are many nights I go to bed hoping I don't wake up. And when I tell people how this accident happened, that people shouldn't drive on the cell phone, they think it's funny. So what do you do when you're in this position? What do you do? My former lawyer, who supports me still, tells me I should not be too nasty to the new lawyer. He tells me, ask him for an extension. I've asked 5 times for an extension to do these things, and they've ignored every one of my 5 requests. Maybe I have to tell him my husband's heart monitor's going through the roof. Maybe he would understand that, because maybe men understand men better than men understand women. I don't know what his problem is, but he's supposed to be a personal injury lawyer, and he obviously has no idea how to deal with people with personal injuries. And quite honestly, I think only people who've ever had brain injuries and PTSD and chronic pain should be allowed to become physicians and personal injury lawyers, because other people just don't get it, what this does to your life. I am sick and tired and embarrassed to hell of asking people to drive me here and drive me home and drive me to events that I can't get to easily. Well, I can get home from here in 45 minutes on the max. But you know, like for me to get to my doctor where I should be going to get therapy is an hour and a half each way and 2 transfers. You know, like I'm sick and tired of dealing with it. I'm just so sick and tired of dealing with it, and it only gets worse. I'm back on opioids. I've been off opioids for about 6 months. I'm back on Valium. I've been off of that kind of medication for a long time. I'm back on big time sleeping medication. I'm trying to get back into PTSD therapy, even though it never worked. You know, like, what do you do when it just never stops? I have managed finally, after 2.5 years, to forgive the bitch that caused this accident. But, you know, like, what about the rest of it? What about the rest of it? You know, like, when is enough enough? How many obstacles are we supposed to go through? Enough to kill me?
I think out of respect, I just want to get that.
I can't hear you.
Out of respect, I'd like to leave a moment of silence for what you just said. I'm going to respond in the context that we are in right now. So I'm going to admit that I don't know any answer to what you said. I know from talking to you that you haven't even fully described all of the difficulties that you have experienced.
Those are this week's.
So this is a pretty good start. What I feel honestly, what I feel is love. And gratitude. I have personally benefited so much from you. I have learned so much, and you have been so generous with me. And it breaks my heart that you are in this situation. How do you feel right at this moment?
I feel like giving up. Just totally giving up. Just lie down in the middle of the road and let some truck run over me. Because basically outside of this community, that's the way I feel I'm valued in this society. I'm an old lady with chronic pain. Again.
What does giving up mean?
It gets hard to care. It gets really hard to care. You know, sometimes it's just easier to shut down and say, screw it, I give up. What am I going to do, fire this lawyer and start with another one? You know, now, you know, these idiot people, they don't even read the medical records. I had hand surgery 2 months ago. I broke both my hands and sprained both my wrists this year. I just had hand surgery and I'm spending 10 hours a day typing to get the stupid paperwork done on his time schedule because the stupid paralegal couldn't even bother to know where we lived. And that he would cut us some slack. We've been told by the lawyer that does support me, who quit, that we should request an extension, and I've requested it 5 times and they've ignored it every single time. There's no reason the court can't grant us an extension, that this doesn't have to be done at breakneck speed when my kids are here, when I'm really hurting. But they don't give a damn. It's all about money. You know, I'm trying to cure my own PTSD. I'm on my 4th or 5th book about it. And, you know, the one I'm reading right now makes a whole lot of sense. And it says every time you're dismissed, it just gets worse. And that's very true. Every time they dismiss me, ignore me, it just gets harder.
What do you need from us? This is what the...
I need your continued love and appreciation and hugs. And some rides sometimes. And I'm sorry if I ask too much for too many times for rides, but I don't really trust going into something like an Uber. I'm afraid.
What?
I'm afraid. You know.
But
I
need what are you needing?
I need your touch. I need your hugs. I need you to tell me what to do when it gets to be too much, because I'm at the point where it's too much.
What are you really scared of?
I can't handle this. I just can't handle this.
Susan,
You know, it's enough to handle when you're well, but when you've had a brain injury that hasn't recovered.
I know, sweetie, but
Susan, are you comfortable talking about your experience?
I feel comfortable in this community, yes. And with certain people, yes, I do. But I don't feel comfortable with certain, no, I don't know. I feel comfortable with most people if I think they can help me. I get tired of being ridiculed, though. You know, like the pain specialist who wrote that I have lousy coping skills.
Well, you're brave right now. You're coping right now.
I have to share, may I share what my experience is? Because, of course. Okay. I have to share that one of the things that happened was that definitely people came around me. And I had a lot of support. A lot of support. And they weren't people I knew. And I think, and that's the hard thing.
Well, I'd be dead by now if it hadn't been for this group. I wouldn't have lasted this long.
Diane, since I've been here, you have been most generous with your time and your energy for KCC. I've always been in awe of your big open heart and the extension you've had of yourself. And what I hope in hearing this from you is that we can all come together as a community, because underneath this you're alone. It's the aloneness and the helplessness that really creates the nature of the pain. And I want us to band together, like you're saying this happened with you, Susan. Let's do this. Give back a little bit of what you've given to all of us. So that you're not alone.
A lot of people have. And, you know, without Carolyn and without Sally and without so many of you, it would be so much harder, and Erick especially. And without you, it would have been so much harder, but I just can't deal with it all anymore. It's just, you know, I almost never see my kids, and they're coming for 5 days, and I'm gonna have to do this shit paperwork the whole time they're there. And it's just so wrong. It's just so wrong. The court doesn't give a shit whether it's done in January or February, so why won't this lawyer file an extension? I mean, do I have to fire the lawyer and start all over again? I mean, I'm just so sick of dealing with this.
See, that's one of the things that would be very helpful, is basically I had people that were overlooking, and I was not making my decisions. At one point, I mean, I had a very serious brain injury, and people had to step in and do it. And I know yours is not to that extent. But you're also sharing right now that you're very overwhelmed.
I think the question for our community is, can we do better?
Exactly.
I think the community has been quite supportive as much as I've asked. There's only been 1 or 2 times when I couldn't get to something or whatever, and no one could help me, but
So one way
what
that
am I gonna do? What am I gonna do with this lawyer? I've been told not to say anything which might upset him and not to point out the fact that it was his stupid company that let the thing sit on the table for 7 weeks so that this is all due this month. You know, like, I've been told not to do that or he'll up and quit on you. Well, maybe I want him to up and quit on me. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
See what's happening right now, because I appreciate that you, but I think we need to move. We understand, we're hearing, and we need to figure out how to help, to really help you. And not, so.
You're not alone. It feels like it.
I mean, if I didn't have this community, I would be alone. I would be alone completely. And
Don't
I
forget your
am so
sense of
grateful
humor.
for that.
Chocolate and
What?
don't forget your sense of humor.
There's no place for humor right now.
Well, your chocolate and the.
There's no place for humor.
Eric,
There's
Yes.
no place for joy. There's no place for happiness.
I'm wondering whether I or someone else in the community could be a coordinator so that Diane could contact that person and say, I need a ride for, and have other people in the community who were willing, volunteer to be contacted about that.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who are.
Diane, so you can stop asking that you can be taken care of, because it's the asking that comes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas you only have to ask once, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
somebody else can.
I think,
I mean,
so,
I would say that I've known you for years and I didn't know any of the stuff
yeah,
that you're going through, and I'm so grateful to hear that you have a need, because I think we can certainly step up. I know that I could. So if I understood what you needed. So if you need help typing, if you need trips, if you need someone to make phone calls for you, but I'm hearing a lot of hurt, and it hurts me because you're part of my community, and I would happily take on some of your load if I knew what would help you. So thank you for letting us know.
Yes.
yes. So, Diane, what I hope comes out of this is a more coordinated effort to offer help. And perhaps we can even deal with some of the specific issues that you're facing. I would hope so. We certainly have a lot of expertise and, I think, willingness in this community to be beneficial.
If somebody knows where to get Valium for me, which Medicare won't let me have, but it's the only thing that stops me from happiness.
Yeah, so as Opa is saying, let's figure the details out later.
I mean,
But
there's a
it's
lot
good
of
to-
details.
it's
so
good to
let's
see you
do
smile.
that. But there's a whole
And I
group
wanna-
here
yeah,
who
yeah,
came for
okay.
Dharma, and this is Dharma for sure. And everyone can check in your own reactions, which is part of practice. But I think it would be important in the last minutes we have today to all the personal questions that are around your situation, Diane. There are people here that want to help with them, but for the whole group, I don't think it's going to be useful to right now go through each part of the medications, the et cetera. So if we could just sit again, kind of quiet with our compassion practices, just take a minute to kind of sense what each of us are reverberating around this, and send particularly to Diane and to anyone in her situation. Susan certainly was for months. And I knew her during that time, but just really send all the love and healing we can in this moment. But expanding it to, there are millions of beings in these terrible situations and even in worse. So holding Diane and all those others. And we can really touch in how much we want to be free from suffering, how much we want everyone we love to be free from suffering. That's our Buddha nature, that deep wish.
I want to read an excerpt from an essay by Darlene Cohen, who's a Zen teacher. And a person who lived for many years with a progressive form of rheumatoid arthritis that was crippling. And she said, people sometimes ask me where my own healing energy comes from. How in the midst of this pain, this implacable, slow crippling, can I encourage myself and other people? My answer is that my healing comes from my bitterness itself, my despair, my terror. It comes from the shadow. I dip down into that muck again and again, and then am flooded with its healing energy. Despite the renewal and vitality it gives me to face my deepest fears, I don't go willingly when they call. I've been around that wheel 1,000,000 times. First, I feel despair, but I deny it for a few days. Then its tugs become more insistent in proportion to my resistance. Finally, it overwhelms me and pulls me down, kicking and screaming all the way. It's clear I am caught. So at last, I give up. To this reunion with the dark aspect of my adjustment to pain and loss. Immediately, the release begins. First peace, then the flood of vitality and healing energy. I can never just give up to it when I first feel it stir. You'd think, after 1,000,000 times, I could give up right away and just say, take me, I'm yours, but I never can. I always resist. I guess that's why it's called despair. If you went willingly, it would be called something else, like purification or renewal or something hopeful. It's staring defeat and annihilation in the face that's so terrifying. I must resist until it overwhelms me. But I've come to trust it deeply. It's enriched my life, informed my work, and taught me not to fear the dark. It seems to me that when we fall ill, we have an opportunity we may not have noticed when we were well, to literally incorporate. Corp is called out. The wisdom of the Buddhas, and to present it as our own body. And then from Pema Chodron, who's famous for her writings about hope. Abandon any hope of fruition. You could also say, give up all hope, or give up, or just give. The shorter the better. One of the most powerful teachings of the Buddhist tradition is that as long as you're wishing for things to change, they never will. As long as you're wanting yourself to get better, you won't. As long as you have an orientation toward the future, you can never just relax into what you already have or already are. One of the deepest habitual patterns we have is to feel that now is not good enough. We think back to the past a lot, which maybe was better than now or perhaps worse. We also think ahead quite a bit to the future, which we may fear, always holding out hope that it might be a little bit better than now. Even if now is going really well. We have good health, or we've met the person of our dreams, or we just had a child, or got the job we wanted. Nevertheless, there's a deep tendency to always think about how it's going to be later. We don't quite give ourselves full credit for who we are in the present. For example, it's easy to hope that things will improve as a result of meditation, that we won't have such bad tempers anymore, we won't fear anymore, or people will like us more than they do now. Maybe none of those things are problems for us, but we feel we aren't spiritual enough. Surely we will connect with that awake, brilliant, sacred world that we are going to find through meditation. In everything we read, whether it's philosophy or Dharma books or psychology, there's the implication that we're caught in some kind of very small perspective and that if we just did the right things, we'd begin to connect with a bigger world, a vaster world, different from the one we're in now. One reason I wanted to talk about giving up all hope of fruition is because I've been meditating and giving Dharma talks for some time now. But I find I still have a secret passion for what it's going to be like when, as they say in some of the classical texts, all the veils have been removed. It's that same feeling of wanting to jump over yourself and find something that's more awake than the present situation, more alert than the present situation. Sometimes this occurs at a very mundane level. You want to be thinner, have less acne or more hair. But somehow there's almost always a subtle, or not so subtle, sense of disappointment, a sense of things not completely measuring up. One of the first teachings I ever heard, the teacher said, "I don't know why you came here, but I want to tell you right now that the basis of this whole teaching is that you're never going to get everything together." I felt a little like he just slapped me in the face, or thrown cold water over my head. But I've always remembered
Get
it.
it a little bit together. A little bit better. I mean, it seems like it, you know, does it have to always be the worst?
No, it doesn't always have to be.
You know, that's what drives me crazy about some of these Dharma books. You know?
Even though it was shocking to me, it rang true. One of the things that keeps us unhappy is the continual searching for pleasure or security, searching for a little more comfortable situation, either at the domestic level or at the spiritual level or at the level of mental peace. Nowadays, people go a lot of different places trying to find what they're looking for. There are 12-step programs. Someone told me there's now a 24-step program. Someday there will probably be a 108-step program. There are a lot of support groups and different therapies. Many people feel wounded and are looking for something to heal them. To me, it seems that at the root of healing, at the root of feeling like a fully adult person, is the premise that you're not going to try to make anything go away. That what you have is worth appreciating. But this is hard to swallow.
By this virtue may I quickly realize Mahamudra and establish all beings without exception in this state.
I would suggest it might be helpful, if you think this is helpful, Diane, if a small group who want to carry on a bit of what Peter said, help coordinate or find out more the needs, might just meet for a bit in the interview room for 5-10 minutes, just to kind of sort out some things that might be helpful. So I'm just making that suggestion, Diane, you can decide. She's nodding yes. So if you want to, Brooke, people who were touched want to go find out an immediate need you might feel, that this would be a good time to kind of begin organizing that. Okay? Thank you, Diane.
Thanks.
That was a
Sorry.
great practice.
I'm sorry to have observed.
No, no.
No.
No sorries. That was a great practice. I'm sure all of us got things stirred up that we had to face in what you brought. So thank you. That's the work. Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.